the difficult situation that we are in, and the IBM CSR team. We've been doing some great work, and this is yet another new session for a new college. So welcome everybody, and good morning. And my request to start is please go on mute. Do not unmute yourself or start sharing the screen. So it will interrupt the session, and we will interrupt the flow. And I would like to have an interactive session, by which means I ask you to put your questions in the chat. This is good one for you. We have some industry experts from various domains, so they will be able to answer your questions. So please use this opportunity and ask your questions in the chat. We will leave 10 minutes at the end to answer some of your questions. And with that, I start this session. And today I'm here to give you a brief or kind of a story of cloud computing and what career options do we have on it. So yeah, quickly on the slides, if you can see my slides, going on to the next slide, right? With the very basics, I'm very sure you guys will be knowing these things. But just to start from zero, so common things that we will see in our desktops or even in your laptops, in your mobile phones, etc. But these are things that you will see in your desktops, the large ones. So you will see the memory cards, the motherboard, the hard disk, the power unit. All of these are the critical things. These are the critical parts that enables you to watch this webinar that you're watching. It enables you to watch your YouTube videos or do your projects and experiment with your desktop machines. So these are the very critical components, and these are not only the critical components for yourself, but also for larger companies. And now we will see, in the story somewhere in the middle, we will see how critical they are and what exactly they do. So this slide, and going to the next one. So what exactly is computing, right? So today we are in a world where we live with a lot of computing devices, starting from the mobile phones we have in your hands, or some high-end gaming desktops, or our simple friend, the calculator that we use for our engineering colleges. So we are in between computing devices, and today we cannot live without them. So that exactly is the computing devices. Then how do we define computing? So computing is nothing but, in a very simpler terms, when you give an input, the device will process it and will give an output. That's the very simplest form of what exactly computing means. Now the one at the top gives you the definition, which I'm not going to read, but I think you get the idea, right? Computing is nothing but you give some input, process them out, and get an output, which is all of the devices in the diagram gives you. You have your phones, you have your desktops, you have your calculators, where you give some input, some kind of input, and gives you output, right? So those are the computing devices. Now that's well good and known, right? So going on to a slide where I want to talk about what is a big company. How does a big company look? So when I was in a college, like all of you people, I really did not understand what does a large company is, or why do we call large company as a large company. Not because they have big buildings, not because they have big companies, large office spaces. No, that doesn't mean they're large companies, right? So there is some definition that goes into by saying what is a large company. So I want to take IBM as an example to show you what exactly is a large company. So with that, just a short brief. So IBM has around 3,50,000 employees across the world. That's a huge count. You can compare this with any of the companies that we have. We run across
Vimal, sorry to interrupt. Vimal, sorry to interrupt.
Yeah.
We are not able to see your screen.
Yeah, Mashik.
We are not able to see your screen.
I can see it. Can others see my screen?
No, the screen is black.
Visible. Yes,
So,
visible, sir.
screen is
Yeah,
blank.
it's visible. Yeah, it's visible.
I think,
Yes, visible, sir.
Umash, I think
Yeah, it's visible.
okay, the problem is, Umash, people have done the video sharing. I think you have to pin my screen.
Okay, fine. We'll do that.
So yeah, the problem is, everybody, I think people are saying no. So if you're not able to see my screen, it is because many people have started their video in their meeting. I would advise all of them to switch off the videos for now, and yet if you're not able to see it, go to my screen and pin my screen. If you pin my screen, it should be visible. Okay, I hope you can see it. So I don't know if you guys seen my previous slide, but just to show you my previous slide, this was my previous slide. So I was here talking about IBM. So I was saying we are around 350,000 employees. We have so many colleagues. We run across 170 plus countries, and we run some of the Fortune 500 clients, computing machines and all their applications. Those are top 500 companies in the world. Now, give some more facts. Some of the 97% of the world's largest banks use IBM products. 90% of the global credit card transactions are processed by IBM. 80% of these are powered by IBM. 80% of world's travel reservations processed by IBM. So this has some huge facts. So if you're using credit card, or if you've done some of the travel reservations on any of the websites, then it might be possible that your transaction went through one of the IBM servers, IBM data centers, IBM applications, etc. So that is a huge company, and this is an example of what exactly is a huge company. Not because the revenue is high, not because they have big buildings, but because we really run the world, and that's what we say in the team. IBM runs the world. IBM plays a role in the world today. And that's the mentality that goes into our minds when we support our clients. So having understood what exactly is a large company, and having understood what exactly is computing, there should be a quick question for, curiosity question which should come to you. What does a large company like IBM do for the computing, right? So that's some large company. What do they do for their computing solutions? So the answer lies here. They build data centers. These are some huge structures. They have some huge machines in it. So these are some of the sample reference images of data centers of IBM, Facebook, Amazon, Google. I'm sure you must be using at least one of these company services, Amazon, Facebook, or Google. So just to relate how big they are, I think you can use the Google's data centers image, which is in the bottom side of your right hand, in the bottom of your right hand side. You see at the cars, right? You see the cars image. You can just relate how big is that building is. So that is the size of all these data centers. That is the size of what exactly is needed to run these big companies. So what goes into this? So you need a huge infrastructure. You need a huge real estate property. You need a large skill set of people from networking, from management, from data center guys, experts from various domains. A huge cost is involved in this, and the operation difficulties, right? So you can imagine how difficult it is to run these data centers, right? It is not very easy. So having known that, there should be a question: what does small companies like, Swiggy or Zomato or any of the small companies that we have today that you are known of, like Ola or Uber, they're not really small companies in terms of their services, but they are small companies in terms of IT. So what do they do, right? So that's the question that you should ask. What do they do if search data centers are required to run their computing devices? So we will just park the question there. I think someone needs to go on mute. Yeah, please go on mute. Okay. So let the small company do for their computing, and we will answer that in the coming slides. Now, I wanted to show something called supercomputer.
Sir, excuse me, sir.
This is the IBM Summit.
Sir, excuse me, sir.
Vimal, one moment. A lot of people are still saying they're not your screen. Lot of people still saying they're not your screen. And Kavita is presenting. I think Kavita is presenting. I think you have to.
Yeah, I think, sir, you'll have to, disable the, sharing option of everybody. Or people, please stop the sharing, please.
Sir, but in my screen your PPT is visible. In my screen your PPT is visible. I think
Okay, so I think the
problem.
Look at the chat. Everybody is saying it's not visible. Look at the chat.
Not visible. Not visible.
Because I have two devices with me. I'm sharing from.
Sir, let me give a small instruction. I've told two names, but in people there is three names. You can find Vimal Prakash three names. So participants, please try to pin all three names. In one name you can see the PPT.
I think Vimal Prakash presentation work.
And in one.
I think Vimal Prakash presentation work. Just pin that everyone, please. Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Just pin that everyone, please. Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. So
ahead,
just to
Vimal,
reiterate, please, I have audio issues.
Go ahead, Vimal. Sorry.
No problem. Yeah. So just please pin my screen. If you don't pin my screen, the screen will go away. So yeah.
Tried that too. It's not visible.
You were able to see my previous screen, but
Tried
it just.
that too. It's not visible.
Vimal, I think the other two devices, please log off. People are getting confused. Vimal, I think the other two devices, please log off. People are getting confused.
Rejoining, not visible.
1 second.
Okay. Rejoining, not visible.
Yeah, give me a minute. Give me 2 minutes. I'm trying to see if I can use one device.
Or change the name in the other device.
But it should work if you
Or
are.
change the name in the other device. Vimal.
Okay. Now the problem is we are using Gmail ID, right? He's going to use my Gmail name.
Okay. Now we can see. Okay. Now we can see. Friends, it is Vimal Prakash presentation that you have to pin the screen. Vimal Prakash presentation that you have to pin the screen.
Yeah, I'm sorry for having two devices, but it has to do with my laptop audio. So I have to use my desktop for sharing my screen.
Okay, actually showing three devices.
So if you're not able to.
Okay, actually showing three devices.
Yeah, I understood. I realized that. So
go
guys,
ahead.
please, there should be two Vimal Prakash.
Go ahead.
Yeah, please pin the other one. So I was in the screen where I was trying to explain what is IBM Summit. So IBM Summit is one of the supercomputers that is trying to help the coronavirus pandemic. How is it helping? It is helping to calculate the calculations very faster rate. It is helping scientists to understand things at a very deeper level, and it is trying to help people to get into the medicine faster than we can ever do it. So how does it do it? Just some facts on it. So it has some 200 quadrillion calculations per second and 250 petabytes of storage and 1.6 terabyte of memory. So if you just compare this with your normal laptop or desktop, so it is like 100 times memory of any of the high-end laptops or 1,000 times storage of the capacity. Now, one more fact is what a computer like ours can do in 30 years, this machine can do it in 1 hour. So that's exactly how these machines are helping the scientists, people, medical representatives to get into the medicines at a faster speed than what a normal computer can do. Now, what exactly is the cost of this server? It's approximately 200 million US dollars. If we convert that to our currency, it's 1,500 crores. So which is a huge money, and I'm sure not everybody can afford this kind of machines for their computing solutions, right? Now, I wanted to have this slide just to give you an idea how much cost goes into building these machines in data centers, so that you understand why the cloud computing was has arrived and why people started using it at a very faster speed than people imagine. Right? So with that basic introduction, I take you to what exactly is cloud computing. Uh, so I'm not going to talk about the definition. The definition is right there. I just had it from the internet. But if I have to talk that in my own terms, my own English, which it is something very relevant to Ola or Uber for the IT infrastructure, right? So what do you do if you have to travel from point A to point B? Somewhere within your location, within West Bengal, if you don't have a car and if you want to go in a car, what do? You just open the app, give your location and give your destination, pick the choice of car from hatchback, overpool, sedan or SUV, and then you pay your money and then you use the services. Exactly, right? You don't get into the maintenance of the car, you don't get into the insurance, driver, buying the car, all of those things. So that exactly is cloud computing for the IT infrastructure. So companies like smaller companies who doesn't want to get into the data kind of things, who doesn't want to build a data center, but they still want to have the computing solutions, right? All the companies today need computing solutions. So what do? They go to one of these cloud providers. We say cloud providers, the vendors. The IBM Cloud, which is our own cloud solution, the AWS from Amazon, Microsoft Azure from Microsoft, and Google Cloud from Google. So this is from very large companies who provide their IT solutions, and smaller companies or companies who doesn't want to have these high-end data center setup, they can just go and rent their services from servers, from storage, applications, or network devices, anything. They can go and purchase it or rent, or not purchase it, go and rent it. Similar to how we go and do our shopping in Amazon site, we can go and rent services from these cloud portals. So that exactly is cloud computing. There are too many jargons in the internet, but if you have to understand in very simple terms, that's exactly cloud computing. Now, going on to the why of the cloud computing, right? So I think by now you should understand why we need cloud computing, but just to pinpoint some of them. So cloud computing reduces the cost. How does it reduce the cost? So let's take the Uber example. If you are not going to use your car every day, 365 days, so let's say you're going to use only 4 times a month, which is approximately 50 times a year, then it doesn't make sense that you should own a car. Right? You're not using it anyway for a longer time. So what do? You just go and use Uber, and that makes a lot of sense because you don't have to, spend the money in buying the car and maintaining it. So that reduces the cost in cloud computing. Cloud computing is as-is basis, which means you go and rent the services whenever you need, and whenever you don't need, you just deprovision it. So that reduces the cost. And speed is because today, so when I started the career in IBM, when we were there setting up an infrastructure, it took us at least 6 to 7 months to even deploy a smaller version of what we're doing today. But today we can deploy a full-blown architecture. A new company can be brought up in just 2 hours or 3 hours. Okay, so that's the speed. And global scale. So any company cannot have their servers everywhere in the world. Like for example, today if you take Uber, they are across all the cities in the world. They are in US, India, Africa, they're in UK, and lot of the countries. And they should have servers somewhere near to the customer. For example, if they have servers in Australia for Indian customers, then they will have so much of lag, they will have so much of latency. The experience that you have today in Uber will not be the same thing. So they should have the server somewhere nearer to India, somewhere within India, maybe Kolkata or maybe in Chennai somewhere. So that they cannot do, for which they have to depend on cloud computing, because all these cloud providers have servers across the world, and that gives them the benefit of having low latencies and high performance. Next two are reliability and performance. Reliability, which means is if one server goes down in a cloud computing environment, and another server will be brought up immediately. And that's a privilege. You can't expect that happening in a data center environment, what we used to have earlier. It is not really that easy to have for example, if the entire data center in Chennai goes down, then the backup site or backup region Kolkata will be up immediately within 1 hour or so. That cannot be done in a legacy data center environment. And performance is because we have high-end devices, high-end machines, latest technologies from AI, data science, big data, all of those things happening in the cloud computing environment. So that gives you higher performance. So quickly going on to the next slide. So there are two, words in cloud computing. They are often interchangeable. You can see them likewise in everywhere. But for myself, there's something called cloud computing types, which is 4 types majorly: private, public, hybrid, and community. So what is a private cloud? So private cloud is nothing but the cloud computing environment runs within the customer's data center, runs within the customer's network. It is not exposed to, I think please mute everyone. Yeah. So it is not exposed to outer internet, it is not exposed to other customers. So that's the definition of private computing, private cloud computing. Then public cloud. What does public cloud mean? Public cloud means that it is shared by different clients. It is shared, the infrastructure is shared, the hardware is shared, the network is shared, by which you get lower cost. But some companies will not prefer public cloud because it is a shared environment. Then the hybrid environment. So hybrid environment is a new thing, and that's the happening. Not everybody is going to cloud fully. Not everybody. Guys, please go on mute. I can hear a lot of noise. Yeah. So not everybody is going on to cloud. Not everybody is staying away from cloud. So what people are doing is they are keeping like 50-60% of the environment in their legacy environment and having 40% in the cloud. So that's called hybrid cloud. Some in their own data centers, some in cloud. And then there's something called community cloud. What does a community cloud mean? So community cloud is where it's kind of a category where, for example, government cloud, defense cloud, insurance cloud, financial cloud. What does it mean is when a vendor designates something as government cloud, then in that cloud environment, only the government companies or government services can host their infrastructure. No other companies can host it. So that is important for the perspective of compliance, privacy, all of these things. Like companies in the financial sector, defense sector, government sector, or hospitality sector are very crucial, are very critical of compliance, privacy, encryption, all of those things. So that's community cloud. Now going on to the model of cloud computing. So there are various types today, but I will stick with 3 major types. So we'll start with this. So infrastructure service is nothing but if you can compare that with Zoom car. So Zoom car is a platform where you can go and rent your car for specific time period, for specific kilometer, or for specific fuel range. So compare that with infrastructure service. What does it mean is when you go and hire a car in Zoom, you can, you will just get the car. You won't get the driver. So you will just get the car, but the Zoom car will take care of the insurance, maintenance, service, all of those things, right? But you still have to drive the car. So that's infrastructure service. So that platform, that model gives you the server, and the cloud providers, such as the IBM or AWS, will maintain the server, manage the server, take care of the hardware. NIT, and Nokia, the well-known brand, also uses cloud computing. So if you have ever used some of these services, then you have already used cloud computing services in your daily life, right? So going on to the next slide, some of the cool stats about cloud computing, just to give the importance. So a third of the company's IT budget of any big company, 1/3 of its IT budget goes into cloud services. Cloud data centers will process 95% of the workload in 2021. That's an estimation. The global cloud computing market is expected to reach $623.3 billion in 2023. That's a huge, huge money, and that's why a large set of people are rushing towards cloud computing today. And, and any organization is going to leverage at least 5 different cloud platforms to run their machines, to run their computing solutions. So that's what I meant. Hybrid cloud is the hybrid or multi-cloud is the future. No company is going to stick with one cloud. They are going to have at least an average of 2 or 3 clouds down the line for the various operation reasons. So that's what I and hybrid cloud is going to be the thing, and IBM is going to has a good stage at hybrid cloud environments. So that's some cool company stats. So I wanted to have this slide just to give you an importance of how important is cloud computing, and why should you consider taking as career options in cloud computing, and you know what is the importance of it. So that was the purpose of the previous slide. Now, going to the cloud computing career options, so these are, so from now on, there will be some important slides. The slides before had some general idea, technical idea, but from now on, will be some important slides, and so please give some, attention to them. So today we have a large set of roles and opportunities within cloud computing. Uh, Cloud computing has become a bigger umbrella where everything has come inside it, like from big data, machine learning, data analytics, AI, to everything. Everything has come inside cloud computing. So there are various roles under cloud computing today. But I will not be able to go through all of them. I will stick with the 4 major ones. So I'll start with cloud administrators, and the next we have cloud application developer. Next, and how the architecture of the site should be, right? So that exactly a cloud architect will do also, but he will do a cloud environment. He will design, architect, and he will know all the compliance, security policies for high performance. He will design the cloud architect environment, and that's also a great role today. So these are the some of 4 major roles. Uh, Now, I've spoken about the roles, but there are a lot of skills that you need to capture, you need to observe, to get into one of those roles. And here are some of the roles that skills that you should consider absorbing before you get into the computing career. One high recommendation would be please get into programming. Please get into try to attain any of the programming skills. So when I started, even I shied away from programming, but later on when I realized programming is for everybody today. It is even for my brother is studying economics. He's also learning Python and Bash and everything. So even economic students have to learn Python today to run the data science engines. So coding is everywhere. If you are going to get into any of the roles in cloud computing, you must know a programming knowledge. So that's why I have kept that in the top. You can start with Python or Bash and go on with the next when you have to find time and when you're interested. So programming skills, automation tools, there are lots of automation tools today. You have to automate the infrastructure, the coding, etc. So Ansible, Chef, Terraform, Puppet are some of the solutions. Infrastructure and virtual concepts, and then you need to understand what is the database, what is the storage, what is the virtual machine, and then get into networking and security basics. You don't have to be a core networking or security guy, but you should be able to understand the subnets, DNS, gateway, routing, DHCP, all of those, the basic networking and security basics. And the DevOps techniques and tools, there are a large set of DevOps tools, but you can start with Jenkins. That's open source, and you can install all of these tools in your own laptop. They're open source, and you can experiment. So Jenkins, open source, GitHub, and cloud-based DevOps tools. And then platform knowledge. Linux is very must. I know we all are used to Windows machines, Windows laptops, but Linux is a must. Today, all the cloud platforms and the SpaceX rocket that the company has recently launched is also runs on Linux. Right? So Linux is the core of everything today. So please learn Linux and also Windows Server. So those are must-have skills, and there's something called good-to-have skills, such as the container technologies. You should explore what is Docker, Kubernetes, and Red Hat OpenShift. Red Hat is again an IBM company. And then going on to understanding your serverless concepts. Serverless is the next future. You will see a lot of applications using these technologies, such as the AWS Lambda or Azure Functions. So these are good to have skills, but you should start with the must-have skills. I know it kind of be overwhelming when you see all of these skills in one slide, but they are very easy to acquire. I probably spent 6-7 months in some of these skills, and I got it through. So if you can spend 6-7 months, you should be able to get through these skills in a very, at least to start with, right? So please concentrate on those skills if you want to get into cloud computing or any of the role today. Even data science. If you want to be a data scientist, if you want to get into machine learning, you still have to learn the programming skills. So please concentrate on them. So next, quickly going on to certifications. We have large set of certifications in cloud computing. There are various vendors giving the certifications. There are various types of certifications, but I'm going to stick with 3 major certifications in across the vendors. The 3 certifications which can relate to the roles that we spoke earlier, right? So I'll start with AWS. Why AWS? Because AWS has already evolved its certification process. So we have something called Solution Architect for architect role. There's a certification called Developer for a developer role, and DevOps Engineer Professional for a DevOps role. That is specific to AWS. Going on to the Azure, we have something similar in Azure also, the Solutions Architect, the DevOps Engineer, the Azure Developer. Similarly, we have for IBM Cloud and Google Cloud. So both of these vendors are still evolving the certification process. So we still have minimal badges or certifications today. We have one in IBM, which is the IBM Cloud Solution Architect for the architect role, and we also have the application developer certification in IBM Cloud. And similarly, we have for Cloud Architect in Google and Cloud Developer in Google. So you don't have to concentrate on all of those things. Just pick either of the vendors. I can't really judge which is a better vendor or which is a better vendor. So just do your research, see which platform suits you, which platform you like, and then concentrate on that platform and start with some of the certifications. So these are the highest level of certifications that I'm showing you. There are some other certifications to start with, but your end role or your end goal should be some of these certifications here. So you just have to search for these names in Google, and I'm sure you're going to get a lot of resources, right? So with that, I also have some reference links for you to go and learn the cloud computing environment. Today we have a lot of free online courses. I probably spent a lot of my learning time in these free online courses. These are only few. I probably use at least 100 links. But these are some of the few links that you can use to explore. One recommendation is there are a lot of content in YouTube. I'm sure YouTube contents are encouraging art and they are very informative, but the only problem is in YouTube videos is they are not in format based, which means they are not in a course based manner. Like if you take your book is very formatted, which means it starts with chapter 1, which is like, difficulty level 1, and then it goes on to chapter 5, which is a difficulty level 5. So it is a very formative structure. It is a very organized manner. So you start from chapter 1 and go to chapter 5, and that learning gives you a better understanding of things than starting with chapter 3, going to chapter 5, and then going back to chapter 1, right? So that's what you'll do in YouTube. You'll just bump into some video that probably will be in highest level of skill. You will not understand it. You will skip the video, and then you go back to some other, after 100 days, you go back to chapter 1. So so what I would say is just pick up some of these courses. These courses are in a very organized and formatted manner. You will be able to understand what are the things that you need to learn, and what is the least level of skill required, and what is the highest level skill required. And after you explore these courses, once you get a basic idea, then you can explore all of the content in YouTube. Because in YouTube we have so many great contents. I use YouTube day in day out, so you can use YouTube after you explore this content. So those are some free online courses, and we also have other portals. We have our own IBM SpeedTech site. So SpeedTech is a site where you have a very variety of courses. Unfortunately, we don't have cloud computing yet, but you still be able to complete other courses in the platform. And you also I think you also get a certification or a badge when you complete the courses there. And I think you can use it for your anywhere in your references, in your resume, or when you talk with an interviewer for your career. So you can also do courses in Udemy. It is paid service again, but the payment is very less. And edX is again free. Some of them are paid. And there's another site called Coursera. You will have a large set of courses from machine learning, data science, cloud computing, programming, whatever you want. Everything is right there. And I think you also get certificate from all of them. So this is some very great resources for you to explore and to prove your skill. So tomorrow, if some interviewer is going to ask you, do you know cloud computing? You just can't say, yes, I know cloud computing. But you also have to validate your skills. And these sites will help you to validate your skills. And I think it's a good resources. So those are some important cloud learning materials. And then there's some next question. If can I try cloud computing? Yes, you can try cloud computing. I'm just going to show you a quick demo. So I do have accounts. These are my personal accounts. Okay, these are not IBM accounts, nor these are my IBM client account. These are my account. If you see here, I'm using my ID. Right, and this is very simple to how you log into your Amazon website, right, for your shopping. So this is the Amazon's console, Amazon's AWS console. AWS is a product that's in Amazon. So if you see here, you have services, right? I think I can also take you to Azure, probably be more interesting. Okay, so this is the Azure site, and this was the AWS site. So if you can see here, both are kind of a website. You just go and rent your services, right? So what can I do here? Let me try to provision a virtual machine, right? If I type virtual at the top, I can click virtual machine, and click create virtual machine. These are some of the things. I can give a name called demo server. This is what I was saying, right? I can place this virtual machine anywhere in the world today. If I can keep in South India, I can keep in Japan, Canada, France. I can keep the server anywhere. It's my wish. So I can do this with my data center, right? So that's what I meant when I say global scale. So let me put the server, okay, I'll put in US. I was going to click this. Okay, I'm not going to touch all of this. Yeah, and I'll just click next. Over here I can say what is the disk type, what is the disk that I need to have. I'm going to use an SSD disk. I'm sure you must be acquainted to this term, SSD. And networking, I will say what is IP, what is the DNS, etc., load balancing, management. I'll skip this, skip, right? So it is creating now. Can you see this? The cost here, it is 6.4 rupees approx per hour, right? And I'll just click create. Yep. So I think it's creating. So if you see in the top right side right corner, see it is saying submitting, creating. You'll see a lot of windows there happening. Deployment in progress. Okay, your deployment is underway. If I go to my virtual machines, you will see it sometime soon. Once it is completed, it will probably take in 5 minutes to complete. So imagine you are doing the same thing all yourself manually in a data center. It is going to take a long time. So what are we going to get? We are not only going to get virtual machine with all the networks, disk, but we're also going to get, along with the softwares, all the OS, all the applications that are needed to be there in software, in the VM. In traditional environment, that's not very easy, and that takes a long time to happen, right? But I can do this is very tiniest work that I'm showing you here, but we can do a large scale work. We can build a big company infrastructure in the cloud within like hours, right? So I will let this continue. It is going to take 5 minutes. I'm not going to waste the time here. But once it completes, you will see the virtual machine right in the left hand side, in the middle place, with the name that I gave you. So you can try the same thing. It is not something that I'm okay. I think incorporated for the resource. Yeah. So can you see this virtual machine demo server? The server that I just created probably 2 minutes ago, and it is in US region now. My server is in US, but I'm in India. Right? So that's the power of cloud computing. So you can really do this. It's not that I'm privileged. I'm having this console, but you can still create a free trial account in AWS or Azure, and you can explore all of these things, everything that I am doing here. Right? The only catch is you have to give a credit card while you're creating the account, and be aware that if you don't use your console properly, be cautious. The money will get deducted from your credit card. So know what you're doing. For example, I have built this virtual machine. I have to delete this virtual machine immediately. Please remember, it is charged on hourly basis. So if I forget today and I go back to sleep, tomorrow morning I will see a bill of hundreds and thousands of money. So be very careful when you're using it. But once you understand how it works, you can set up alerts, billing alerts. Once you set up all those things, you will be able to explore this to a very great extent, right? And you can do a lot of things that we do in our companies today. So I've left the links here for cloud, IBM cloud and the AWS cloud. You can also do in Azure. And I think I'm done. So yeah, so I just kept a note here. Free registration is registration with credit. Please monitor your usage. So please keep that in mind. So, and then some of the keywords that you can explore further in Google. These are some of the keywords which you should try to explore when you find time. These are some very great, interesting articles on the internet. You should really understand how Netflix is working in the background, or how Hotstar works in background. Like when you watch a cricket match, or when you watch any series or web series, a lot of things happens in the background, and that's very interesting to learn and understand what happens when you go and click a movie in Hotstar, right? In your app, what happens in the background. So that's a very interesting read. You should spend some time there, and these are some of the keywords that you can use to explore further. I think I'm done. I will end up with a quote which I really like. It is about curiosity. So curiosity is important. Please be curious. and ask questions. With that, I ask you to, use this opportunity and ask questions to any of us, me, Marshi, or anybody in our team. And thank you for your time. I hope I did justice for the 1 hour that we spent.